First contact in flames. The quantum communications array at Luna Base Sentinel chirped to life at 300 Earth Standard Time. Lieutenant Sarah Chen jerked awake in her monitoring chair, quickly wiping drool from her chin. The array hadn't received an actual transmission in the 3 years she'd been stationed here. Most signals were just cosmic background radiation, or the occasional pulsar. This was different. The message came through on frequencies that shouldn't exist, using encryption protocols that humanity had reverse-engineered but never seen actually used. The holographic display erupted with streams of alien text that her systems immediately began translating. Emergency. Civilizations. Help us. They're consuming everything. Sarah's hands flew across the haptic interface, following protocols drilled into her since Academy days. Within 30 seconds, she had confirmation. This was a genuine first contact scenario. More specifically, this was first contact scenario 7, distressed civilization. The message continued unfolding. This is High Commander Varys of the Neorian Collective. Our worlds burn. The Nexus comes, converting all in their path to their machine consciousness. 14 billion already lost. Any civilization receiving this message, we beg for aid. We have coordinates. We have. The transmission cut off in a burst of static. Sarah was already connecting to the encrypted quantum channel to Earth Defense Command. Within minutes, the view screen lit up with the stern face of Fleet Admiral Helena Torres. Report, Lieutenant. Admiral, confirmed distress call from previously unknown species. They're under attack by another unknown force, apparently mechanical in nature. Transmission origin plots to the Carina Arm, approximately 3,000 light-years out. Full data package uploading now. The Admiral's expression remained neutral as she reviewed the data. Sarah knew what she was thinking. For 50 years, humanity had hidden its true technological capabilities from the galaxy at large. Ever since first detecting alien signals, Earth had maintained the facade of a primitive civilization, barely reaching for the stars, all while secretly building the most formidable fleet this side of the galactic core. Analysis. Torres asked. The encryption protocols match what we've observed from the Galactic Council networks. These Neorians are likely a member species, but what's strange is they're broadcasting on frequencies that should be impossible for their level of technology. Almost like they were deliberately given that capability, Torres finished. By someone expecting they might need to call for help someday. Sarah nodded. The transmission origin point shows massive energy signatures consistent with large-scale planetary bombardment. Whatever's attacking them, it's big. Torres was silent for a long moment. Sarah could almost see the wheels turning. The Admiral had been one of the architects of humanity's hidden fleet strategy. The question now was, had the moment finally come to reveal themselves? Lieutenant, initiate Protocol Dawn's Light. Alert all fleet bases. I want the 1st through 5th attack groups spun up and ready for immediate quantum jump. And get me a secure line to the Security Council. Sarah's heart rate spiked. This was really happening. Yes, Admiral. But what about our cover? The Primitive Civilization Act. A grim smile crossed Torres' face. Lieutenant, sometimes the best way to make an entrance is to kick down the door, especially when lives are at stake. Transmit an acknowledgement to the Neorian frequency. Simple text only, in their language. Help is coming. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can really do. Within hours, massive ships began emerging from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Vessels that had never seen actual combat, crewed by soldiers trained in secret. The greatest fleet humanity had ever built was about to make its debut on the galactic stage. As Sarah watched the ships gathering on her tactical display, she couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and anxiety. Humanity had spent decades preparing for a moment like this. Now they would find out if it had been enough. The quantum drives of 500 warships spun up in perfect synchronization. In her command chair aboard the flagship Terran Dawn, Admiral Torres gave the order that would change human history forever. All ships, commence Operation Helping Hand. Jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Execute. In a flash of quantum energy, Earth's hidden fleet vanished into the depths of space, racing to answer a desperate cry for help. The greatest revelation in galactic history was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Hidden strength. The quantum wake of 500 human warships rippled through spacetime as they emerged in the Carina Arm. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of the Terran Dawn, watching the tactical hologram materialize. What she saw made her breath catch. 3 massive mechanical worldships hung in orbit around a burning planet. Each was larger than Earth's moon, bristling with weapon arrays that fired continuous streams of energy into the atmosphere below. Smaller harvester craft swarmed like insects, descending to the surface and returning with loads of converted matter and energy. Multiple Neorian life signs detected on the surface, reported Captain Marcus Rodriguez. Population centers under heavy siege. Their orbital defenses are gone. Completely. Torres nodded grimly. Show me the enemy fleet composition. The tactical display shifted, highlighting the Nexus forces in red. Over 2,000 combat vessels supported the world ships, arranged in precise geometric formations. Their design philosophy was obvious: absolute efficiency, no wasted space or energy, every surface optimized for its function. "Ma'am," Rodriguez said, "they're scanning us. Complex quantum algorithms. They're trying to match us against known species databases." Torres allowed herself a small smile. Let them look. 50 years of misdirection about to pay off. The human fleet's true capabilities have been humanity's best-kept secret, while the rest of the galaxy saw Earth as a primitive world barely achieving spaceflight. The reality was very different. Every failed space program, every primitive rocket launch had concealed quantum technology tests. Every satellite contained sensor suites gathering data on alien civilizations. The Nexus ships suddenly shifted formation, weapons charging. A transmission burst across all frequencies in machine-precise galactic standard. UNREGISTRED fleet DTTKTE. Species Sci-Fi unknown. Your biological and technological distinction IVNES will be added to our purification. Resistance is inefficient. They're powering up their main weapon arrays, Rodriguez reported. Standard contact protocol for them seems to be shoot first, assimilate the survivors. Torres straightened her uniform. Send our response on all channels. Let's show them why humanity chose to hide in plain sight. The message went out. This is Admiral Helena Torres of the Terran Defense Fleet. We received a distress call, and we're here to answer it. You are ordered to cease your attack on the Neorian people immediately. This is your only warning. The response was predictable. Primitive species, DETCTED. Homo sapiens. Threat ASCSSNient. Minimal. Technological level. Inadequate. You will be processed while the others. They're launching fighters, Rodriguez announced. 500. No, 1,000 units incoming. Energy weapons charging. Torres watched the swarm approach on tactical. The Nexus clearly expected an easy victory against what they thought was a primitive species. That assumption was about to cost them dearly. All ships, execute Battle Plan Theta, Torres commanded. Show them what humanity's been working on. The human fleet suddenly split apart in a maneuver that would have been impossible with conventional drives. Ships quantum shifted in microsecond bursts, their formation dissolving into organized chaos that the Nexus targeting systems couldn't track. The incoming fighter wave met a wall of theoretical physics turned into weapons, quantum torpedoes that existed in multiple states until impact, gravity lances that bent space itself into destructive configurations, dark energy projectors that accelerated the local expansion of spacetime, literally tearing targets apart. In the first 30 seconds, 300 Nexus fighters simply ceased to exist. Enemy adapting, Rodriguez reported, excitement creeping into his voice. They're attempting to analyze our weapon systems, but their processing can't keep up with the quantum variants. That was the true genius of humanity's secret weapons program. Every ship's systems were slightly different, operating on principles that changed constantly. Against an enemy that relied on pattern recognition and adaptation, it was devastatingly effective. The Nexus fleet's precise formations began to break down as they faced an enemy that defied their fundamental assumptions about combat. Their weapons, designed to overcome conventional shields, splashed harmlessly against human quantum field barriers that phased in and out of normal spacetime. "Ma'am," Rodriguez called out, picking up transmissions from the surface. "The Neorian defense forces are rallying. They're launching a counterattack while the Nexus is distracted." Torres nodded. "Good. Begin Phase 2. Deploy the Chaos Protocol." Throughout the human fleet, special systems powered up, technology that had been developed by studying the quantum communications networks of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. The result was a weapon that no pure machine intelligence could defend against. Waves of contradictory quantum data cascaded through space, carrying information that existed in superposed states. To organic minds, it was meaningless noise. To the machine logic of the Nexus, it was devastating. Their networked consciousness began to fragment as they encountered data that could not be resolved into binary states. The massive world ships shuddered as their control systems tried to cope with quantum uncertainty on a fundamental level. Their precise formations dissolved into disarray. "Enemy fleet effectiveness down 60%, Rodriguez reported. "Their adaptive algorithms are failing. They can't predict us because we're not following any logical pattern they can recognize." Torres allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Decades of preparation, of maintaining the facade of primitivity while developing weapons that turned physics itself into a weapon, were paying off. "Signal the Neorian forces," she ordered. "Tell them to fall back and regroup. We'll handle the orbital forces." She paused, then added, "And send a message to Earth. Tell them to prepare for company. I suspect we're about to have a lot of explaining to do to the galactic community." As the battle raged on, Torres reflected that humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology. It had been patience, the willingness to play the long game, to appear weak while building strength. Now the galaxy would learn why. Operation Sanctuary. Colonel Maya Patel stood in the drop bay of the assault carrier Hyperion, studying the holographic map of the Neorian capital city. Around her, 200 soldiers of the 7th Terrestrial Rescue Division checked their quantum shift armor, technology that let them phase partially out of normal spacetime, making them nearly impossible to hit. "This is what we trained for," she addressed her troops. "The Nexus ground forces are still active down there. 5 million Neorian civilians are trapped in underground shelters. We get them out. Simple as that." A soldier raised his hand. "Ma'am, what about the assimilation nanites the Nexus uses? Intel says they can convert organic matter to machine components in seconds." Maya smiled grimly. "That's why we're wearing the bio-quantum field generators. Can't assimilate what they can't touch. Remember your training. They think like machines, so don't think like one. Be unpredictable. Be human." The drop bay doors opened, revealing the burning world below. The Neorian capital was a maze of crystalline spires, many now shattered by Nexus bombardment. Mechanical conversion units crawled through the streets like silver spiders, searching for organic matter to process. "Drop in 5, the bay controller announced. "Quantum shields at maximum." Maya felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. 7th Division. What's our motto? "Humanity helps." The troops roared back. "Damn right we do." Drop. 200 human soldiers plunged from the sky, their armor shifting them partially out of phase with reality. They fell like ghosts through energy beams and physical barriers alike, reassembling at street level in perfect formation. "Teams Alpha through Delta, secure the perimeter," Maya ordered through the quantum comm. "Echo and Foxtrot, you're with me. We're heading for the main shelter complex. The surface of the Neorian world was a nightmare landscape of partial mechanical conversion. Buildings were half organic, half machine, caught in mid-transformation by the Nexus process. But the humans had trained for this, using simulations based on long-range observations of other Nexus conquests. They moved like water through the streets, flowing around obstacles and enemy forces with fluid grace. Traditional military tactics were useless against the Nexus, so they didn't use them. Each soldier operated with near-complete autonomy, following the mission objective but choosing their own path and methods. Colonel, Lieutenant Santos called out, "Got a problem at the shelter entrance. Nexus set up a quantum encryption lock. It's adapting faster than we can crack it." Maya reached the massive shelter doors, studying the shifting patterns of energy that kept them sealed. The Nexus loved their unbreakable encryption. Too bad humans had learned to think outside conventional mathematics. "Deploy the entropy field," she ordered. "Let's show them some good old-fashioned thermodynamics." A specialized device activated, creating a bubble of accelerated entropy around the lock mechanism. Inside that bubble, time essentially ran faster. The unbreakable encryption aged thousands of years in seconds, its quantum bits degrading naturally, until the whole system simply fell apart. The shelter doors slid open, revealing thousands of terrified Neorians. They were beautiful beings of living crystal, their bodies refracting light in complex patterns. Now those patterns were dim with fear and exhaustion. A Neorian elder stepped forward, his crystalline form pulsing with weak light. You're the humans, but your species is primitive, barely achieved spaceflight." "Yeah, we get that a lot," Maya replied with a grin. "Let's get you folks out of here. We've got ships waiting in orbit. But first," she turned to her squad, "show them what we brought." The soldiers began unpacking special devices, quantum field projectors that could extend a human-style phase shift effect over a large area. They weren't powerful enough for military use, but they could protect civilians during evacuation. "These will keep the Nexus conversion units from affecting you," Maya explained to the elder. "We're going to move in groups of 500. My troops will guard each group. Just stay close to the projectors." The elder's crystalline surface rippled with emotion. "Why? Why help us? You don't even know our people." Maya's expression softened. "Because that's what humans do. We help, even if we kept ourselves hidden. Even if we let the galaxy think we were primitive, we were always preparing to help when the moment came." The evacuation began, a steady stream of crystal beings moving through the ruined city under human protection. The Nexus forces attacked repeatedly, but they couldn't adapt to the constantly changing tactics of the human defenders. Each soldier fought differently, using their quantum armor and weapons in unique ways that defied machine learning. "Incoming," a soldier shouted. A massive Nexus walker rounded a corner, its conversion beam sweeping the street. Maya didn't hesitate. She quantum shifted through a wall, came up behind the walker, and planted a temporal charge on its leg joint. The device detonated, aging the metal 50,000 years in an instant. The walker collapsed as its own weight crushed its ancient components. "Colonel," her comm crackled, "Admiral Torres reports the orbital battle is won. The Nexus fleet is in full retreat. AVIC ships are entering atmosphere now." Maya watched as the first transport ships descended through the burning sky. They were beautiful things, their quantum drives leaving trails of displaced reality as they landed. Human ships, built in secret, now revealed to save a species humanity had never met. "Copy that," she replied. "Tell them we're going to need more ships. Lots more. These people have lost their world, but they haven't lost hope." She looked at the grateful faces of the Neorians. "And tell Earth to get ready for guests. It's time humanity officially joined the galactic community." The evacuation continued through the night, as humanity showed the galaxy that sometimes the most primitive-seeming species could harbor the most advanced qualities of all: compassion, courage, and an unwavering determination to help others in need. The Battle of Sol. Earth's quantum detection grid lit up like a Christmas tree. Dr. James Chen stared at the readings in horror from his station at Lunar Defense Command. Sir, massive quantum wake signatures detected. Multiple vectors. They're surrounding the entire system. General Michael Okonjo leaned forward in his command chair, dark eyes fixed on the holographic display. The Nexus response had come sooner than expected. 5 massive world ships emerged from quantum space, accompanied by thousands of support vessels, nearly 3 times the force that had attacked the Neorians. "They're not taking us lightly this time," he muttered. "Good. Status of civilian evacuation. Underground arcologies at 90% capacity," his XO reported. "Quantum shields charge. Mars and Luna colonies secured. Neorian refugees safely relocated to the Jupiter habitats." The general nodded. Earth had spent decades preparing for this exact scenario. Every major city had underground quantum-shielded shelters. Every civilian had drilled for this possibility. Now it would pay off. A transmission cut through all frequencies. Humanity. You have with perfection. Your resistance is noted. Your tactics are unprecedented. You will be studied. You will be understood. You will be improved. "Charming folks," James muttered. "Sir, they're deploying in a hypercube formation. Energy readings are off the charts." "Send the signal," Okonjo ordered. "Execute Solar Defense Protocol Alpha." Throughout the solar system, hidden installations activated. Quantum field generators powered up on Mercury, Venus, Mars, and dozens of asteroids. A web of interlocking fields began to form, creating a complex defensive geometry that the Nexus computers would find impossible to fully map. "Alert from Admiral Torres," the comm officer announced. "The fleet is in position. They're ready to spring the trap." Okonjo allowed himself a grim smile. The Nexus thought they were attacking a single primitive world. They had no idea they were facing the combined intelligence and ingenuity of the entire human race. The first Nexus strike was devastating, or would have been if it had hit anything real. Their energy beams passed through holographic projections of Earth cities, striking empty ground. Their targeting systems, designed to track conventional defenses, were baffled by quantum ghost images that appeared and disappeared randomly. "They're launching conversion swarms," James reported. "Billions of nanites, designed to transform matter into machine components. Deploy the viral protocols." Across Earth's surface, specially designed quantum computers activated. They began broadcasting signals that mimicked Nexus command protocols, but carried subtle errors that propagated through the swarm's collective intelligence. The nanites began to conflict with each other, their programming corrupted by human-designed quantum viruses. The Nexus world ships pressed their attack, firing planet cracker beams that could shatter worlds. But humanity had turned their own solar system into a weapon. Quantum fields redirected the energy, feeding it into massive capacitors hidden within Mercury's core. The power would be recycled, turned against its creators. "Sir," James called out, "they're adapting to the quantum virus. Swarm effectiveness back to 60%. "Right on schedule," Okonjo replied. "Signal the fleet. Begin Phase 2. The human fleet suddenly emerged from hiding, not in normal space, but in the quantum layers between dimensions. They had adapted their quantum drive technology into a combat technique that let them exist partially outside reality, striking at the Nexus ships from angles that shouldn't exist. Admiral Torres' voice came through the command channel. "All ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Remember your training. Don't think like machines. Think like humans." The battle that followed defied conventional physics. Human ships' quantum shifted between dimensions, appearing and disappearing faster than Nexus targeting systems could track. Each captain fought independently, following their own intuition rather than rigid tactical doctrine. The Nexus found themselves facing hundreds of individual battles, rather than a single coordinated enemy. They're trying to analyze the pattern, James reported, watching the Nexus data streams. Their combat algorithms are searching for logic in our movements. They won't find any, Okonjo said. Because there isn't any. We're fighting on pure human instinct and creativity. No pattern to analyze. The massive world ships began to show signs of damage. Their perfectly ordered formations broke down as they failed to predict where the next human attack would come from. Energy beams struck empty space as human vessels shifted between quantum states. But the Nexus were far from defeated. Their world ships began to combine their energy outputs, creating a weapon that could potentially tear apart the fabric of space-time itself. Energy spike, James shouted. They're going to. Now, Okonjo commanded. In that instant, the capacitors in Mercury activated. All the energy the Nexus had expended, captured and stored by human quantum fields, was released in a single massive burst. Not in normal space, but in the quantum layers where the Nexus ships were most vulnerable. The effect was catastrophic. Nexus vessels began to break apart as their quantum structures collapsed. The world ships, their combined energy weapon half-formed, found their own power turned against them. Their machine logic couldn't handle the recursive loop of their own energy being fed back into their systems. Multiple Nexus ships self-destructing, James reported, his voice filled with awe. Their quantum signatures they're running. The world ships are retreating. The command center erupted in cheers, but Okonjo remained focused. Casualties. Minimal, sir. The quantum defense grid held. Civilian casualties less than 1%. Fleet losses at 12%. Okonjo nodded slowly. Send word to the Galactic Council. Tell them Earth stands ready to assist with any future Nexus incursions, and inform them that we're finally ready to formally join the galactic community. He looked at the tactical display, showing the retreating Nexus forces, but make it clear that we'll be joining as equals. The galaxy needs to understand. Humanity is done hiding. Dawn of unity. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from over 300 species packed the space, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of galactic life. At the center of attention stood Admiral Helena Torres and General Michael Okonjo, the first human representatives to ever address the full council. High Counselor Zixtal, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, spoke first. Let us be clear about what has transpired. Your species, which we believe to be barely capable of reaching your own moon, not only possessed quantum technology rivaling our most advanced members, but managed to defeat a Nexus invasion force that has terrorized 3 galaxies. That is correct, Torres replied simply. And you achieved this while deliberately maintaining the appearance of a primitive civilization for over 50 years. Also correct. Torres activated a holographic display, showing Earth's hidden technological development. We detected your communications networks in 1973. Rather than announce ourselves, we chose to listen and learn. We saw the threats that existed in the galaxy, particularly the Nexus. We decided that surprise would be our greatest advantage. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. A representative of the machine-oriented Siberian collective raised an appendage. The implications are disturbing. If one species could hide such capabilities, others could as well. That's exactly the point, Okonjo interjected. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations have become predictable. You rely too heavily on known physics, on established patterns. The Nexus nearly destroyed you because they could calculate every move you'd make. And you suggest an alternative. This from Ambassador Krell of the warrior clans, his scaled form looming large on his gravity platform. Torres smiled. We suggest an alliance, one that combines the established knowledge of the Council with humanity's capacity for unconventional thinking. The Nexus aren't defeated. They're regrouping. But next time, they'll face a unified galaxy that can fight in ways they can't predict. The chamber erupted in discussion. On a private channel, Okonjo received a message from Earth. The Neorian refugees were integrating well, their crystalline technology already forming fascinating hybrids with human quantum science. More importantly, other species had begun reaching out, seeking asylum, and offering alliances. High Counselor Zixtal raised all four of his energy tendrils for silence. You understand that trust must be earned. Your deception, however pragmatic, raises concerns. We do understand, Torres acknowledged, which is why we're offering full access to our quantum defense technologies. In return, we ask for equal standing in the Council and support for our proposal to create a new rapid response force, one that combines the best aspects of all our civilizations. A holographic display activated, showing designs for a new type of ship. It merged the quantum drive innovations of humanity with the energy manipulation of the Council races and the crystalline technology of the Neorians. But more importantly, it showed a new command structure, one that emphasized initiative and creativity over rigid protocol. The Nexus thinks they can calculate every possible response, Okonjo explained. Our victory proved that wrong. When we fight with imagination, when we combine our diverse approaches in unpredictable ways, we become something they can't quantify. Ambassador Krill leaned forward. You propose to teach us chaos. We propose to teach you humanity, Taurus corrected. To show you that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the most advanced technology. It's the ability to use that technology in ways no one expects. The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity wasn't just offering military aid. They were offering a fundamental change in how the galaxy approached problems. High Counselor Zixtal's crystalline form pulsed with something that might have been amusement. You hide your true nature for decades, reveal yourselves by saving an entire species, defeat our greatest enemy, and now propose to reorganize our defensive strategies. You humans don't think small, do you? Go big or go home. Torres replied with a grin, using an idiom that made several translator units struggle. That's another human trait. The vote that followed was nearly unanimous. Humanity was admitted to the Council with full privileges. The proposed rapid response force was approved. As the chamber began to clear, Torres received another message from Earth. The first joint human-Neorian research team had successfully developed a way to shield entire planets from Nexus conversion beams. It's really happening, Okonjo said quietly. Everything we planned, everything we hoped for. Torres watched the various species filing out, already forming new alliances and discussion groups. No, she replied. This is better than what we planned. We didn't just reveal ourselves. We sparked something new. The galaxy was stagnant, stuck in old patterns. Sometimes it takes a primitive species to show the advanced ones a new way forward. As if to prove her point, a group of younger representatives approached, their species traditionally hostile to each other, now united in their excitement about human training programs. The galaxy was changing. The Nexus would return, but they would find a very different opposition waiting for them. One that combined the best of all species, the wisdom of the ancient races, the advanced technology of the Council, and the unpredictable creativity of humanity. The dawn of a new era had begun, and somewhere in the dark between galaxies, the Nexus encountered something their vast machine intelligence had never experienced before: uncertainty about the future.